Well, one of the sensations this produces is not the sensations of existentialism like dread, despair, and those, but it produces new sensations. Ecstasy is one of them. I mean, you go to see Jurassic Park or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie for the ecstasy of communication. By that I mean for the pure neural thrill. Wow, a T-Rex, oh, a raptor, and it just runs through you, raptors, T-Rexes, or Arnold just beats up people that, you know, you view as bad or coded as bad by the society. And there's this visceral, ecstatic feel, like when you get your first fax. I mean, this is, in the old days, your first fax, if you will permit me a slight vulgarity, was when you lost your virginity. Now, it still is, except now we mean faxing, you know, coming out like this, and it's, people tell little secret stories about it. When did you first fax? That's a different world. You know? If you're a fax virgin, you won't understand it. You haven't lived. Yeah, that's the common story. Faxing has replaced a lot of things. Just fax it to me. No, anyway, so ecstasy is one emotion that's produced by it. But don't think that it's the ecstasy of the sublime that Schiller talked about when one sees either a beautiful landscape or of the other feeling of the sublime that one might associate with standing before the Pietà or the David or something like that. It's not that kind of ecstasy. It's more visceral. It's more direct. It's more like the ecstasy that your children feel when they beat, you know, the worst monster at the highest level of the Link 2, you know, one of those new video games. And they beat the big monster, and there's just a visceral, neural thrill of ecstasy. What this may cause in some of the older generation like myself, I've already admitted that I'm still modern. I'm just trying to trace out the postmodern trajectory and look at it. I mean, my kids will have to live in more of it than I will ever see, so I'm trying to understand it and think about it as much as I can. And a sense you get is one that resembles Vertigo. How many of you have seen Vertigo, the great Alfred Hitchcock movie? You know, that sort of sickly sense that you're twisting above sort of abysmally too much of something. This seems to me a fine sort of mood characterization for the postmodern trajectory. A sense of vertigo before all this information. Well, if theses like the ones that I have just described that Baudrillard holds are true, but of course the word true will no longer apply, because we'll be in a setting in which you won't want the true, you'll want the truer than true. You won't even, the false won't even be a good enough lie for you. You'll want the lie better than a lie. I mean, the truer than true explanation. You won't just want Oliver Stone's film about JFK. You'll want the film about how Oliver Stone himself participated in the plot to cover up the real assassins by making the film JFK. So you want the truth about the truth about the truth and all the way down, interminably. Vertigo, that's the sense you get looking down that chain of bizarre stories. And I think that the way people deal with this is interesting. They deal with it as a form of complexity, a word I've used probably too many times. It makes them people caught in this cusp between an old world and an old paradigm that is dying and a new one that it cannot really yet be born. And we find ourselves in that space. And it draws us to people like Ross Perot who say, it's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. That's the most powerful political rhetoric in a world with a postmodern trajectory. God, how we would love it if someone could tell us anything was just that simple. And then, of course, when you see a pie chart, you know, oh, a pie chart. I mean, it has more religious meaning now than a crucifix to see a pie chart. I mean, because why is that so popular? Because it reduces complexity. The complexity is very real, but his little sound bites, his little conversations with Larry King help to reduce that complexity, and they put another message in there. Now, I know it's real complicated, but we can fix it. Americans have always fixed it, and we can fix it. Well, if Baudrillard's right, we've fixed it all right. We've fixed it all the way up and down. And I mean, you know, we see other people engaging in this same sort of attempting to reduce complexity. I mean, the political parties, to the extent that they exist at all anymore as anything other than fundraising devices, which I don't know. I don't think they have any ideologies, because in a postmodern situation, who would have an ideology except just as a momentary thing? Like Your Week as a Communist by Susie St. Pierre at Duke. My Week is a Trotskyist. My Week is a Buddhist. My 2 weeks as a follower of the cult of Elvis. I mean, these are papers that you could legitimately expect people to write if they still read or wrote. Not many people still do either read or write much. But in any case, reduction of complexity. Let's look at the political parties for a moment. The Republicans, with their great traditions, have come up with the slogan of incredible sophistication. No more tax and spend. Now, any of you who can quack that one out could be a Republican. And I'm using that in the Orwellian sense of quack. You don't need to engage higher brain functions. All you have to do is say, don't take my money, and don't spend it. Well, except on me and my friends. But don't tax and spend. Now, it's not the Democrats are doing any better. I don't guess that's news. I mean, Clinton is now less popular than Castro. If Castro ran against Clinton, Clinton would lose by a few points. I mean, he wouldn't lose big, but he'd lose, you know, by a few points. I mean, especially in a three-person race with Clinton, Castro, Perot, and Gaddafi. I mean, I don't know who would win. In fact, given this postmodern world, any one of the four could emerge with the biggest 1/4, depending on how they ran the campaign. Probably it would depend on who could hire David Gergen. You know, I mean, if Fidel got to Gergen first, he might win the damn thing. We don't know. But the Democrats' response to this tax and spend is, no, we don't. Nah, 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 nah. Invest. This is political debate in a democracy. No, it's not. It's the simulation of politics. Ross Perot is not leading a movement. It is a simulation of a movement. You follow me? This is not a populist revolt. Ross Perot is not Teddy Roosevelt. This is a simulation. Now, am I putting it down? No. In some ways, Ross Perot is paradigmatically more real than real. He is hyper-real. I mean, as opposed to Reagan, he really was a businessman that made millions. You know, I mean, a whole bunch of billions, I think, is fair in Ross's case. And so on. I mean, so in a way, there is more reality to it. In any case, the current political structures are way behind this curve. They don't understand it well at all, in spite of all the talk about the selling of the president. That's very old-fashioned. We all have lived with advertising for years. What we haven't lived with are ads that have more narrative structure and meaning than the programs. And I'll mention a few of those because I think they're interesting. The current McDonald's ads that kind of tell a part of your life story in like a 2.5-minute ad. It's like from when you get married till you have your grandkids till you die, and you get that 2.5 minutes. And then there's a McDonald's thing like, good, I was born, I had kids, I died, in the meantime I got a Big Mac. I mean, this is sort of Gone with the Wind condensed into a short version. It's fast, it's hyper-real, and in the meantime you at least got a Big Mac. And you never will have to be hungry again, you know, reproduced to infinity over and over on videotape, changed to Laserdisc. You can watch Scarlett O'Hara say that a million times. If we had the technology right now to do it, we could just have Scarlett back there screaming about terror while I'm doing this. In any case, if Baudrillard is even onto something, what the postmodern trajectory means is that the self is not under siege, it's lost.